have a great HOA and Karen video for you today. Here's our first story. Frustrated with HOA and the neighbor who is president of my community. First off, I have cancer and literally the only one at home with my wife, as my parents are pretty much working and at the church every day. We live with them and cause no problems for anyone in our neighborhood as we moved into our condo last April. We rent and paid a year's rent up front just because of my situation, and also my mom is on disability. Also, my sister-in-law passed away at the same time and we had to move that same week. Thought it would be less of a pain. So we have 3 cars and a 2-car garage. Literally, the first 2 days of moving in, we get a complaint that the garage is not being used for 2 cars. But we were literally still moving stuff in. So we cleared that up, and we start getting more complaints like there's only 1 car in the garage and the other 2 cars are parked on the street. Turns out, our neighbor is president of the community and is watching our every move. When we moved in, he had a family friend help us, and he had an old beat-up pickup truck. That first week, we got a complaint about him and his truck. He was literally just parked on the street and popped the hood of his truck to check a few things. From that day, my mom got a gut feeling that our neighbors were racist because we look poor and Mexican. By the way, we are not poor and live in a nice area. Pretty much OCD about how clean we keep our home. To this day, we had to send in 5 pictures of our garage because it kept being requested as 2 cars were not being used up in the garage. The landlord did not attend the HOA community weekly meeting or whatever and is now being fined $400 for our garage. Our garage, at the moment, still has 1 car and 1 open space. But this is where it gets messed up. We live in a gated community, and all of a sudden, our transponders were not accessing the crane at the gate, and we were not allowed into the community until speaking with security. Now they have temporarily reactivated our transponders for the time being, and we cannot speak on behalf of our home, only the landlord can. We literally see the president, who is a housewife at home all the time, looking through her window every time we come home or open the garage. It is very frustrating. My mom is now emotionally distressed and is looking into lawyers to possibly sue the HOA and or the landlord for discrimination, emotional distress, and other things. The president/neighbor literally had a party for their daughter the other week, and it was on their driveway with their garage open. That doesn't seem like it's being used for car purposes only. It just sucks that the association does not hear our side of the story and just keeps requesting picture after picture of the garage when they keep approving that it's fine. Now, there's a $400 fee for whatever freaking reason out of nowhere, and our landlord is hinting that we need to pay for that. There's a lot more to the story, as even the first day we moved in, the realtor came to our place at 9 p.m. abruptly, asking for the garage space to be cleared ASAP and that all the trash bins cannot be placed in the backyard and only in the garage. Bro, it's 9 p.m. Call or text us in the morning. I'm just so sick of the neighbor causing so much stress on my family without even coming to our door just to chat. My wife went over to their place and spoke with her husband, and he just came up with some bullcrap excuse that another neighbor was complaining and they had to let the association know. We live right next door. At least warn us about it. What would you do? My mom wants us to fight for some of our rent back and move out, trying to figure out this stress while navigating through chemotherapy. Do you agree with this answer? You rent, so no, the HOA has no responsibility to tell you anything. They don't have an agreement with you. They have an agreement with the landlord. Anything they tell you is a courtesy. Super sucks to rent in an HOA community for not getting good communication. I feel ya. Nobody's harassing you. The HOA may be harassing your landlord, but there's no way for you to know as you're not privy to their history or communication with the HOA. In addition, there's no need to throw out the race card when it's much more likely the president dislikes you for simply being a renter who's breaking community rules and lowering property values. You need to work this out with your landlord. So we're at a crossroads here. Is OP being picked on by these neighbors and HOA president, or do they actually have a point? Let me know what you think. HOA versus US military, posted by Dr. Time Fox. Prepare for an HOA imploding. This soldier lived in an HOA in a rather nice house, paid his dues and taxes, not a single penny owed to anyone. Then they get called up and put on deployment. This is when the HOA seized their home and, worst of all, sold it. So, despite continuing paying their HOA fees, the soldier never hears about this until they return just over a year later, and immediately the chain of command goes into action. A point of clarity here: when a soldier is on deployment, it is illegal to seize any of their property. Even the IRS is barred from any action. So, after ignoring a letter sent by JAG, the Army Judge Advocate General Corps, JAG and the soldiers sue the HOA. Seems that the HOA broke 11 federal laws. The judge then awarded the soldier $1.5 million in immediate return of their home and property. If none can be returned, then federal prosecution will happen. The soldier did get back their home and their property. It seems the HOA board kept it. Speaking of which, all had to sell their homes. The HOA was dissolved by court order, and what happens to those board members? Never seen again. Rumor has it they are in prison. Does it get any more nuclear than this? Holy cow, man.
Bully me into selling you my car? You ticked off the wrong mama bear. Posted by eGrant03. So about 8 years ago, I'm selling a used car. The engine light was on, the AC needed recharging, and the fuel pump or something was out. So I go to my local trusted sales site. Ad goes up with a few pictures and the words, "I work weird hours, so I may not be able to accept a phone call. Please only text me." Yay to working swings and midnights, right? 'Twas actually college classes, but same thing for me. So a few days in, I get a pretty standard text. "Hi, I'm Matt. Is your car still available for sale?" Matt isn't his real name, but you get the idea. So text back that it is. A few standard texts about price and why the engine light's on and who did you get the quote from. I listed an approximate price on repairs as quoted from my trusted mechanic and whatnot, and go back and forth. The next day, I get a text from him saying, "Are you going to take all your crap out of the car before you sell it to me, or is that my job?" Unwarranted hostility? Really? Come on, man. He's not the only interested party, so I text him back, "I'm not selling the car to you, so don't worry about it." I never said I would sell it to him, and he never asked if he was the only interested party, and others were arranging test drives already. I didn't need him and his less than full price partial commitment, and the crap he was complaining about is 3 textbooks and a bag I keep clothes in. 4 things. This guy didn't like to take no for an answer and starts calling and texting about how my car's paint is peeling, but true, but the pictures and description said so, and how dare I ask so much, $1,000, for a piece of crap car. I started replying for a time, telling him that he wasn't going to get the car, that I had other interested buyers, so he didn't need to worry about it, and so on. Then things got personal. This site gave you the option to link to Facebook so you could post at both places at the same time, so I had. I didn't have my privacy settings turned down as it was still early into Facebook's absolute reign, and I actually trusted them at the time. Silly me, I know. I hadn't anticipated that he would be able to find my info through the website's post and find my name, my location, pictures of my kid, my mother-in-law's obituary, and so on. Surprise me, he did. He starts texting me about how I should be ashamed of myself for saying no to him, a muscular dude, and me being quite a round female. He included a picture in one text, and he wasn't the muscular-built man that he claimed to be. He looked like a beanpole with 2 ab muscles, so what, dude? He asked me if I even knew anything about cars, or if I made the post while on my period, so I didn't know what I was talking about. He texted that I should be lucky that I was already married, or else he would come to my house and, quote, "show me how a real man handles a little witch," end quote. He got close, but he didn't have an address, and the way my address pulls up on GPS, he would never find my apartment, thankfully. Small side info. Since I was in college at the time and needed a more flexible schedule, I worked as a school crossing guard. Every 2 weeks or so, we'd go in to sign our time cards in order to get paid. This crossing guard gig was a hire through my local PD. Not all crossing guard gigs are the same, but this one was. During one of these visits into the office, I was using my phone while I was waiting for my boss to get to me, my name being low in the alphabet. I hadn't yet blocked the dude as it hadn't been long since this started and I was hoping it would fizzle out on its own. I didn't check my phone in class, choosing to turn it off to avoid ADHDing on it the entire day, and I was often flooded with several hours of text all at once. What I saw on my phone drove me over the cliff. He started texting about pictures that I had posted on Facebook about my 8 or 7-year-old son. He had just majorly crossed the line. The cleanest version of his text included things like, "Your kid is just as ugly as you are. I hope you don't plan on him leaving home to get a wife anytime soon," and how a smudge of dirt on his face from a day at the zoo looked like I'd beat him. "I didn't sell you a car and you're taking out your rage by threatening to hurt me and accusing me of beating my kid? Oh, heck no." Apparently, I was loud when I said what I did because my boss stepped right over to me next and asked what was wrong. Great person, 10 out of 10. Would boss again. I told her that I was getting this abusive text from a rando that tried to buy my car. I told her I was about to erase the text and block him, but she's like, "No, wait, don't do that. Let me see your phone." So happy I did not delete them because this next part still makes my heart sore. I offer and she takes my phone, reading all the sick and vile things he texted to me. She tells me to wait until she's cleared the lobby of the other crossing guards, so I do. She then tells me to follow her behind the security doors at the PD station, still having my phone. I don't know what's happening, but I liked and trusted her, so I do. I follow her back to her office where she works on her computer, referring to my phone on occasion. She asks if all I have is the phone number or if I got his name too. I tell her that I only got a first name and scroll to the text where he introduced himself. A semi-uncomfortable amount of time later, she hands back my phone. Something to mention, my boss isn't just administrative. I didn't know it at the time, but she's a full-on lieutenant in the local PD. She came up the ranks from patrol, moving to a position where she exclusively investigated child, elder, and disabled abuse complaints before moving into her current desk position. Needless to say, she didn't take people threatening harm to kids lightly. Because I hadn't blocked the number, I still had the text messages with the dude's name, and she had used it to cross-search him and the phone number. Long story short, she knew exactly who he was. She says not to worry, but don't delete or respond to any of his texts anymore. She had it. If it got worse, I should call her or 911 as appropriate right away. Unconcerned and happy that she had the situation in hand, I leave and go to class. When I'm back to the office to sign my time card 2 weeks later, I had several unread texts from the guy. I had filtered them so I didn't see them pop up and hadn't read them. I had sold the car for full asking price and all but forgotten the entire situation. My boss tells me to wait for her again as she had something else for me to sign, and I again return to her office. She briefly explains that what she had for me was an actionable complaint that she needed me to sign for my issue 2 weeks ago. I remember everything all over again. She must see my face because she tells me not to worry and that she can tell me what's going on more after I actually sign the form. So I do. Dear Reddit, this is the best situation anyone could have asked for. The phone number tied to many people as the provider was known for cheap cell service for those that were desperate for a way to contact people or services or employment. But with the name Matt, again fake name, she was able to find out who was messing with me. She then got a driver's license, which led to an address, which led to a police report for possible domestic violence. Follow down the rabbit hole some more, and you find out that this dude had 5 kids by 4 women, and he was in arrears on his child support to them all. Hadn't been paying for 10 plus years, and it was in the neighborhood of $30,000 to $50,000 if memory serves. But he, somehow, just 2 weeks ago, requested a title transfer for a new to him, quite fancy old car. I don't remember the kind, but think high-end car show and massive insurance premiums. Being so far in arrears meant that my boss was able to place a seizure order on the car so it could be sold to pay back the child support. One of the baby mamas lives in a state where fleeing child support meant that you could have a warrant issued for your arrest. When she called the interested parties in that state to see if they wanted her to execute the arrest warrant, they said yes, with much haste. That was a funny turn of phrase, so I always remembered it. One conversation later, and my boss was able to determine that he was using the brother's social security number on his employment forms to avoid child support garnishments. This is all sorts of illegal, so she notified the guy's HR department so it could be corrected. They informed her that he would be fired for fraudulently submitting false documents. She then told me that about 4 days ago, she had executed the warrant on the dude for felony child abandonment and that the state he was to be held for was already en route to pick him up. It carried an 8 to 12 year sentence, and he still had to pay back his child support. I could have dealt with the comment. I could have dealt with the not taking no for an answer. Even dealt with the cyber stalking. A little. But when your twisted mind okays you into bringing my kid into the picture, you done crossed the line. If you would have stopped at no, you wouldn't be in jail right now. Listening to failed robberies unravel over a radio. Posted by Maya the Strange One. So I started a retail job at a store that had just opened up in my city a couple months ago, and I have been waiting for the day to finally tell a fun tale. I have had a couple of run-ins with lowly Karens, for instance. On the store's opening day, I had a Karen ask me where the business shirts are. I showed her, and she said that she wanted a 3-pack of business shirts. I apologized and said that we didn't have 3 packs of business shirts, and she huffed and said, "You work here and don't know where anything is?" before walking off. Yeah, it's everyone's first day. Of course we're not going to know everything. But I digress. The story that this post is referring to just happened on my shift that I just got off of a couple hours before writing this post. For this story to make sense, our store has these push-to-talk devices. I'm unsure how many other retail stores do this, but I'm guessing it's commonplace. Basically, walkie-talkies that are fed through an earpiece. The first encounter of the day happened about 45 minutes into my shift. I hear over the radio from a coworker, "Hi, a customer just came up to me saying that they saw someone shoplifting and that they're still in the store." This obviously got my attention. Since working the checkouts, there isn't a lot of insane action that goes on other than the odd peak time here and there. I then hear the manager ask for a description of the culprits and what they were stealing. A bald man with a hat and a green jacket with a partner was stealing kitchen knives by replacing the new ones in the boxes on the shelves with crap ones. My interest is piqued even more when they said that they had spotted the culprits, and then I hear over the radio, "Okay, I'll call security. Make sure you check their bags before they leave." While this is happening, I'm fixing up a click and collect order for another customer, and when I come back out the registers and hand the customer their items, there's 2 security guards and all the managers double checking everything that they were buying. They ended up being let go, so my guess is that they realized that they were caught trying to steal and decided to bail on that idea and just buy the items instead. I thought that was the end of the excitement for the night. But then, it happened again. Not even an hour after the first event, I'm back at the registers and I hear the manager come on the radio and say, "Hi everyone on level 1, I would like you to keep an eye on the young blonde woman. She's wearing a gray jumper and acting really dodgy, just a heads up." Me and my coworkers at the checkouts all give each other a look, wondering what's going on. Then about 5 minutes later, we hear, "Definitely keep an eye out for her, she's definitely stealing stuff." At this point, I'm kind of chuckling because, again, this is quite a lot of excitement for someone who stands behind a register for a good majority of the shift. We then hear, "She's heading up to the elevators. Can someone on the ground floor by the back exit just stand by the elevator near men's? We just want to have a good idea of where she is." And as this is being said, I see a manager running towards the set of escalators in the store. And the radio chatter continues. "She's heading towards the beauty section. Can we get someone over there? Can someone call security? Security went home because they were sick." Of course they did. "Make sure she doesn't get near the exits. She just got on the elevator." I'm keeping watch by the elevator, kind of looking around, not really sure what to do at this point, just kind of thinking, what the heck is going on? Only to then hear over the radio, "She's gone into the basement," which made me chuckle again because the basement level hasn't been finished in our store yet and is obviously a dead end. The rest of what happened was told to me by the manager who caught her. He chased her into the basement and into a corner where he started taking pictures of her, I'm guessing for the police so they could know her appearance, and she immediately started freaking out and crying. After this, she yelled, "I've got nothing left to lose," and then charged at the manager, which obviously got him to back off real fast, and then she managed to get out of the store empty-handed. We scanned all of the goods that she had picked up and determined that she nearly stole $250 worth of goods, including a small TV monitor, Lego sets, clothes, and so on. In the end, we kind of all came to the conclusion that it was likely a junkie trying to steal stuff from our store so she could sell it on Facebook Marketplace or eBay to make a quick buck. The next half hour over the radio was them just describing the security camera footage, like the moment she realized she was caught, how desperately she was trying to get away, how funny it was seeing the managers chasing her around, and so on. Part of me wants to feel bad for the thief because it definitely sounded like she was in a really rough place, what with how the manager described her reaction to getting caught stealing so much. But at the same time, I can't help but feel like she was likely going to sell that stuff to get another hit of ice or something. But I guess the thing I got out of this is that there's quite a lot of eyes on you in retail stores, even if it may not seem like it. Anyway, just thought I'd share that experience with you guys. It was quite an exciting night for me. I can't believe you need me to bring you the merchandise I'm returning. Posted by Danzyman. Background. I was working at the customer service desk at a department store. A few things that Austin Mart is known for, and this is all relevant context for the tale, are whole transaction discounts. A lot of comparable stores issue % off coupons that only apply to one item in the transaction, or % off transaction coupons that exclude numerous categories of items, typically those with slimmer margins like electronics, more heavily regulated categories like alcohol, or items that are already on sale and clearance. Austin Mart doesn't carry much in the way of the first two exclusions, and their coupons don't exclude sell or clearance prices. Discount stacking. Austin Mart's coupons don't include the may not be combined with other offers language that many others do, so based on when each offer is valid, somewhere around 3/5 of the days in the year are days in which there are 2, or even occasionally 3, discounts that can be applied together. Austin Mart Cash. Roughly once a month, there's a period from 8 to 14 days long during which every purchase earns Austin Mart Cash, a $10 coupon for every $50 spent, which will be redeemable usually starting the next day after the end of the earning period and expire around 1 week later. This one can get tricky when returns are involved. When a return is done against a transaction that earned Austin Mart Cash, such that the remaining total from the original purchase falls below the same multiple of $50, there are different options depending on where in the cycle you are. Deactivate some of the earned Austin Mart Cash. If we're still in the earning period, this is the only option. Reduce the amount of your refund by the amount of Austin Mart Cash that you unearned, leaving the value of your Austin Mart Cash unchanged. During the spending period, if you haven't spent the Austin Mart Cash yet, you can choose either option. If you have already spent it, then this is the only option. The Yes We Can policy. Austin Mart's entry-level employees are more empowered to say yes to what customers want without getting management involved than in any other retail company that I've worked. If it's reasonable, the employee can say yes. They don't have to, and there are limits, but generally the default behavior is to give a yes as much as possible. Another aspect, especially relevant at the service desk, is that when the customer wants something we actually can't do, we're trained to not present this in the terms of, no, I can't do that, but rather in terms of, here's what I can do. At the service desk, we paid extra attention to the discounts that had been used on the customer's original purchase, and we would do our best to preserve these discounts when possible. If someone wanted to return something that they had bought at a better discount than they'd be able to get today, we might direct them to do an even exchange in order to preserve the price they had paid. Sometimes we'd manually reapply some coupon and or sell price on a replacement purchase made following a return to give them the same deal that they'd have gotten if they'd bought the new item back on the date of their original purchase. We could look up past sell prices on any item by date for a few weeks after each sale ended. The story. On this particular day, there's continually a short line at the service desk, so any interaction that involves a customer leaving the counter and coming back means they will probably have to stand in line again for a few more minutes when they return. A lady brings up a bedding set that she had purchased, but which she now wants to exchange for a different one. I say, no problem, I can definitely help you with that. Do you have your receipt? Lady says, yes, I have it right here. Okay, so you have two options. You can do an even exchange at any register, but only if both items are exactly the same price. This is the simplest transaction, and it will preserve all of the discounts you got on your original purchase, as well as the Austin Mart Cash you earned that day. But I know that in the bedding department, there aren't typically very many things with the exact same price point, so more than likely you'll need to come back here to do it as a refund or purchase. I'm happy to take care of both parts of that transaction here if you don't find an item that qualifies for an even exchange. In order to leave both options available to you, I won't do anything with your return item just yet. Go ahead and find the new item that you want to get, and then, if you do find the same price item, you can go to any checkout. Otherwise, you can come back here and I'll take care of you. Lady heads out to the bedding department with her original set. A while later, she comes back up with a different bedding set, hands me the receipt for the original purchase, but she doesn't have that first set with her anymore. Okay, and the item you're returning? It's on the receipt, right there, as she points. Ma'am, I still need the original item in order to process this as an exchange. You mean I have to go back out there and haul that thing back up here again? But it's so heavy. Have one of your associates bring it up. Well, you would still have to go back there too, since you know where you actually put it. I put it on the shelf, where it goes, but the numbers are right there on the receipt. Yes, but I would still have to actually take the item that you're returning from you in order to apply its refund value towards the other items that you've selected. The woman, no longer acting like a lady, so I have to change her name at this point, but I already put it back. Why can't you just use the numbers off of the receipts? I'm breaking it down for her. Because if I did that without actually taking the item back, what's to stop someone from just saying that they put an item back in order to get a refund for something they didn't actually return? This is ridiculous. I didn't come here to be accused of stealing. There was probably more she said here, but I can't remember any of the rest of it. Insert the typical ranting of your choice. She then proceeds to throw the bedding set across the counter at me and storms off. I go ahead and let our AP officer know about the situation. I never did find out whether she was trying to pull a fast one on us, or if she genuinely did think that just putting her return item directly back on the shelf was actually the way it was supposed to be done. Entitled parent demands a 50% discount after a very minor inconvenience. Posted by Zulva AZ. Before I start, I want to preface and say that I have high-functioning ASD, which is autism. Some of my social skills are limited, but I try to work my way around it and being as social as I can. So that's why you don't see a lot of conversation in this post compared to my prior post here. That, and my work surprisingly doesn't have many Karens running around given our location. We're smack dab in the middle of a retirement community, but we're the only store for the western side of my state. I thought my entitled parent stories would end with my now prior neighbor, but alas, entitlement has hit my work. I work for a hardware store in the U.S. as what they call a customer sales associate. I'm one of 6 CSAs who are tasked to work in our paint department within the days. Out of those 6, I volunteered to do closing hours. I'm a night owl, so I usually don't wake up till around 1 or 2 p.m. Tonight was a quiet night for me and the closer for our sister department until I had 2 women, who I can assume are mother and daughter, approach my paint desk with some very worried and irritated expressions. I walk by and ask how they're doing and what I can help them with. The mother, mid-60s, explained that she returned her paint due to it having the consistency of jelly. I get confused and I grab the can from our return to manufacturer cart so I can examine and try to diagnose it. Lo and behold, they were right. It was like jelly. I asked them the usual questions about storage and use, and I saw no clues in how it could have reached this state in their home. I then referenced about our freight and how sometimes stuff like this happens. I explained to them that I will remake the paint and even discount it with the manager being notified. As I'm toiling through the list of assistant managers and department supervisors on the radio apps for the inventory phones, one of my assistant managers walks by with his lunch and dinner, and I catch him and ask if he could spare 5 seconds to look at the paint to confirm a discount. He says sure, and examines the paint as I'm citing why it was returned and the customers who wanted it replaced. He said to discount it by 20%, which is huge given we only discount paint by $2 to $5 depending on the issue. This $40 paint was now $31, but I decided to reduce it to $30 to round it out. Fast forward, the 2 arrive and I have this conversation. The mother is the entitled parent. Is it ready? Yep, it is. I spoke to my manager and I told them about the paint and they said to discount it by 20%, but I decided to discount you a little more. You mean to tell me that you discounted by 20% because of my troubles? This is ridiculous and you know it. I'm sorry, but I'm following what my manager had ordered me to do. How old are you? 21. I'm in my 60s, and you think you would have discounted me to 50% because I had to paint it? It was clear she didn't, as she may have likely hired someone to do it, but either way, it was a frustrating moment. Unfortunately, no, ma'am, though I'm terribly sorry about the issue with your old can, but I will not discount it further as my manager had requested me to discount it by 20%, and I even gave you a little more than 20%. The entitled parent is then ticked and asked to speak to our manager that discounted it. I explained that he's out to lunch and is the only one to know in our department very well. She asked if I could interrupt him, and I also said no because of company policy. She then asked for a list of all the managers, and it was at this point that I put my foot down and said no. They then walked off to check out, swearing to call a manager. After that, I went over to customer service with the old can to return it. A good friend of mine for customer service actually asked me about the two women, and I explained to her my side of the story. She said she also had an interaction with that entitled parent prior to her coming over to my paint desk. Entitled mom asked to try my shoes on, posted by Diana K. I have a pair of slipper backless check Vans that my sister gave me. I love these things. I get a lot of compliments about them. I was standing in line to buy some soda and snacks when someone taps me on the shoulder. It was a middle-aged woman and her 16-year-old daughter. Excuse me, I love your shoes. Where'd you get them? Well, I got them from my sister. I'm not sure how old they are. You could probably look online for them. What size shoe do you wear? A 9. Hey, Evelyn, try these shoes on and see if you like them. She says, what shoes? The mom says, the shoes this girl has on. Try them on to see if you like them, and then we can order them offline. I say that I am not going to let you try on my shoes. That's a weird thing to ask a stranger. Yeah, no, Mom. That was really weird to even think about. Good luck with the shoe hunt, I guess. I turn around to put my items on the belt, and the entitled mom taps me on the shoulder again. It is not weird. She could have just slipped them on quickly and no one would have known differently. So you are being rude. You could have said no without being rude. Jeez. Look, you don't ask a stranger to take their shoes off so you can put your feet in them. It was a weird thing to ask, and even your kid agreed. So stop touching me and don't ask people stuff like that again. The entitled mom says that it was not weird, but the daughter says that it was weird. I quickly paid and left before I could hear what else entitled mom might say. They had a big cart of stuff, so luckily they didn't follow me into the parking lot to discuss it more. Poor Evelyn with a mom like that. Entitled mother tried to steal my little sister's ice cream, posted by Vexlem. Hi y'all, this happened about 2 weeks ago while we were on a trip, and I forgot about it until my older sister told me about it. OMG, it is crazy. So we just finished eating our lunch, around 4 p.m. Yes, it's basically dinner, but we call it lunch. We only eat twice a day, breakfast and lunch, and then at nighttime, we get things like fruit for health problems for my little sister. She had so many cavities, and so we gave her a ban on sugar. So, we were thinking that ice cream would be nice, and we saw that there was this old-fashioned ice cream place which had sugar-free vanilla ice cream. We entered the place, and I must say, paying $15 for a cone and 1 scoop is very expensive. Usually, it's like $3 for them, but here, it's much higher. Anyways, this place was quite popular, so it had a line. It took us around 10 minutes of waiting just to get into the small shop, and around 5 minutes extra of waiting inside till we actually got to the counter. While waiting, there was this very polite kid who was playing rock, paper, scissors with my little sister. Sister's 5, and he looked around 6 or 7 years old. He was very talkative, but also very kind, and even pretended to lose when my little sister lost in a game. Next to this kid was the entitled mother, who was on the phone with her loud voice, sort of lecturing someone, and she had this bossy attitude. Anyways, we get to the counter, and I always go for the more expensive items because, hey, why not? I got the hot fudge brownie sundae, and oh, it was bomb, but it was expensive at $25. Anyways, we finish ordering. My mom and my dad order a banana boat, little sister orders a small 1-scoop cone of ice cream, and my older sister ordered the same as me. In the shop, there were 2 sections. Section 1 was where you ordered, and Section 2 is where you wait and you get your ice cream. We finish and go to Section 2, where entitled mother starts ordering. I don't know what she was thinking when she entered the store, but when she saw the prices, she flipped and she yelled at the cashier, yelled at her son for choosing the most expensive place. Basically, a Karen flip over. Little sister saw this, and by the way, she's really shy when she meets a person, so she hides behind my mom. Entitled mother saw us and comes over to us and says that her child wants to get the same thing as my little sister, and that she said that he had too much ice cream and that we should give my little sister ice cream to the boy. The nice kid was turning red and kept telling his mom that it's okay that he doesn't want ice cream anymore, but his mom still tries to talk to us about giving my little sister's ice cream to her. The front desk guy who gives the ice cream gave my little sister ice cream and told her that the rest will be ready in a second. Meanwhile, the manager is talking to the woman, telling her to either order politely and stop bothering us or to get out of the store. She's yelling at him that it's a free country and that she can do anything she wants. She sees the ice cream in my hands and says, "Thank you," while trying to grab it from my hands. I forgot to mention that I'm 5'6", and this woman looked like about 4'11" at max, so I easily just put my ice cream up, and even she tried to jump and grab it. She looks at me and calls me a demon and said that I wasn't raised properly. I told her that her son had more manners than she did, and that's when she broke out yelling and screaming, falling to the ground. Oh, he hurt me. But the thing is, no one's buying it. They're all kind of laughing at her. She gets embarrassed and leaves the store while calling her son's name out. The manager gave the nice kid a small hard candy and told him to keep being a good boy. This is where we never see entitled mother again. The manager apologizes, and guesses what? We get the bill 50% off. My dad was dancing while he saw the 50% off on screen. In the end, we got 50% ice cream, and I loved it. To be honest, I think the price is worth the ice cream. Usually for an entitled parent story, the entitled parent would come back and make another problem, but sadly in our story, entitled mother gave up and went embarrassed out of the shop. I hope the nice kid never becomes like his mom and stays being the nice kid that he is.
Sue Karen, she towed my deployed brother's car off our property with an update. Click the video on your screen so you find out what happens to Karen, and I'll see you there.